Before I ask you a single question on wireless radiation or 5G or anything related to it, you've been speaking very articulately about these issues for many years. You work at Environmental Health Trust with Deborah Davis, who's extremely scientific and articulate. So it's not like what I'm about to ask you is breaking brand new information out. This is out there. Its books are on it, articles. We've interviewed you. You've made very clear videos citing specific studies and the health risks and environmental risks. So people, this information exists, and it's not fluffy information. It's tight, clear data, scientific studies. You're up on the latest studies. So this information's out there. So what's happened when you've told the president of the United States, the senators, the governors, the congressmen, or the PTA leaders, what the media, the New York Times, what are they saying? Are they all saying we don't care? It doesn't matter. We make a lot of money doing things the way we do it, and we just do not want to change. I mean, what is going on? Because you're saying really strong things that are affecting our health, affecting the environment. Who is listening and who's not listening? What is going on?
Well, that's a very good question. And there is a real gap in accountability. So when we go to our local officials, they'll say, oh, our hands are tied. You know, we have to put this cell tower up, and the US government has regulations. Go to the feds, right? So when we go to the federal officials, and that happens when we go to the state officials too. I mean, everyone just points fingers at everyone else, but we end up at the federal government. And the situation we have there is that the federal agency tasked to be addressing this issue, the Federal Communications Commission, is captured. And former Verizon and industry telecom executives have been in leadership for years, and they have set the stage for where we are now with the billions of new things for the Internet of Things and all of these millions of new cell towers. But the real issue here is that the FCC is not a health and safety agency. So they say, well, we look to our health and safety partners, our other agencies, but actually no other agencies. And this is just a fact. This is not an opinion. You know, I'm not going to give you a scientific opinion. I'm telling you a straight up fact. There is no agency of the US government with expertise in science or public health expertise, physical health, biological health, any regulatory agency with expertise in our health that has looked at the totality of the science and asked the simple question that we all have, which is this safe? What does the science say? Are the limits we have protective? And actually, there's no agency that's even tasked to be monitoring the levels that we're exposed to from cell towers. None. Other countries have, they're monitoring what are the levels, some not as good as others. In other countries, there might be a group that's tasked to be sort of looking at this, even if it's not adequately doing it, at least there is funding and a budget to do so. But in the United States, it's just been finger pointing, and actually there's no agency that has our back. It's like we've gone to a doctor and the doctor says, you're fine. And they never even looked at the situation. They didn't do any tests. They didn't assess. There's been no assessment of all of the science, and there's a lot of science.
Now, there are a lot of people in this world, there are billionaires who they don't want to get a disease. They don't want to get sick. So when very powerful, rich people who they have an interest in staying healthy also, they don't want their children to be sick. So is any of these influential, smart, powerful, rich people hearing this? Because it's not like you can invest in a telecom company and just get the benefits if there is a health risk from wireless radiation or 5G, and it doesn't matter how successful you are, you're still gonna be affected by this. So any rational person, no matter where they live in the planet or how successful, this affects them. So are they understanding that, or do they not believe it? And why wouldn't people who've already got a lot going for them and a lot of money, also want to protect themselves from something that could hurt their health? Do they just not believe it?
You know, I guess I can't answer that question. I can't say when I've talked to a lot of people in high positions of power over the years, they inevitably say things like, let me tell you about how my child uses the device. And they want to know from me how to help them for their kids. This has happened more times than I can count with people. And so they're sort of interested in this. I'm talking about elected officials now, or people who are in the departments of health and so forth. But getting that next step, I don't know how people sleep at night in light of the reality of our use of technology and the lack of proper safety limits. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of money. There's so much money here that money just must be making us blind. And as a society, we're addicted. People are addicted to this technology. And the other thing I think that's a reason why we're where we are, aside from money, which is probably one of the most important pieces, is a lack of hope that there's anything different. That, this feeling that it's overwhelming, it's not fixable, I can't do anything about this. People feel like they've been run over by a truck. I believe and know, and many scientists and people who are working on this believe that there are solutions. I mean, we know there are solutions, that we can fix this, just like we fixed other issues in the past. And there's a lot to be done, but it is a fixable situation once people have the information and once we have the political will to make the changes that need to be made.
Theodora, why do you say the FCC is a captured agency? After all, it's the United States government. The top people pick the leaders of the FCC. So these, in theory, are the smartest, most responsible, most honest people who love and care about us and our children and only want to make rules that protect us. So why would you have an opinion that they're not these wonderful people looking after our best interests? That's what my mother told me, my father told me, that's what most people believe. And we assume that the EPA is also, and of course the FDA and the USDA. So why would you accuse a government agency that we've been brought up to believe is the ultimate in looking out for us and say that they're captured? What do you mean by that?
Well, Harvard investigation, they have a publication, a Harvard Press investigator did a book called Captured Agency, all about the FCC. And that was detailing the fact that the former head of the top lobbying group of the wireless industry, it's called the CTIA, the wireless industry. CTIA wireless industry is their title. The former head lobbyist, the former head, Tom Wheeler, was appointed as the chair of the FCC and really put forward the regulations and the rules that we're dealing with now, which is the streamlining of cell towers and wireless everything into our lives. So the FCC, a lot of people who are who have been commissioners at the FCC then leave and go on to head wireless companies or wireless lobby groups. We have lawyers who worked in the FCC who then left and now are working for law firms that are representing the telecom company. And I mean in cases like right to know cases or cases where there's lawsuits related to cell phone injuries and so forth. So in addition, the Brendan Carr, who is an example, he's now an FCC commissioner, and he was one of the lawyers who worked for the wireless industry, the CTIA, when the city of San Francisco tried to have a right to know law that would tell people that cell phones emit radiation. You should keep cell phones away from your body. And he was one of the lawyers who worked on that. And actually that law, which was voted on and passed, was never implemented because of the CTIA lawsuits. So the industry has been bullying the really communities that speak out or localities that try to pass laws. And the FCC has some leadership that has been involved in that.
So
Yeah.
who should we be voting for? Should we vote for Republicans or Democrats? Which one of them make sure to put people in office that put FCC chairmen that look out for our interests? Which one, the Democrats or the Republicans?
You know, with this issue, it's not a partisan issue. We've had Democrats who've, you know, we had President Clinton appointed Thomas Wheeler. I'm sorry, President Obama appointed Thomas Wheeler. And we've had Ajit Pai, who was chair under Trump. So this is not a partisan issue. And I can't answer that question. I think this is a all hands on deck. We got to get everyone involved and everyone educated on this issue, because it has not fallen through the cracks. It's just been, there's so much money captured at every level, in every Republican, Democrat. It's made no difference into what's happened here so far. Now, I will also add that I didn't mention this, that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, was fully defunded from working on this issue, but their websites make it seem like everything's fine. And if you go to their websites and read what they say, I think most people will say, well, they're pointing me to the FCC. All of that was drafted, rewritten just a few years ago. Since I've been involved in this, we monitor the web pages of our US federal agencies. The EPA site has been rewritten several times, just scrubbed and scrubbed again. The FDA as well, you go to the FDA site, it seems like safety is assured. In fact, there's a whole section on safety. The word safety is all over the page, but nowhere have they actually assessed all of the science to ensure safety for people, especially children.